former president did make a brief statement before getting on the plane, which he's on now. I just want to play you what he said.
Well, thank you very much. This is a very sad day for America. And it was also very sad driving through Washington, D.C. and seeing the filth and the decay and all of the broken buildings and walls and the graffiti. This is not the place that I left. It's a very sad thing to see it. When you look at what's happening, this is a persecution of a political opponent. This was never supposed to happen in America. This is the persecution of the person that's leading by very, very substantial numbers in the Republican primary and leading Biden by a lot. So if you can't beat him, you persecute him or you prosecute him. We can't let this happen in America. Thank you very much, everyone.
Do you want these trials to happen?
We should point out that when the former president left office and left Washington, D.C., the city was on lockdown because of the attack on January 6th. That is the city he left behind. Ellie,
well, we've heard this from Donald Trump every single time. He just used the phrase persecution. He continues to and will continue to attack the prosecutors, law enforcement, the judge, and anyone else who may hold him accountable. I think it's our job to call it out every time, first of all, for being irresponsible, reckless, and potentially dangerous. We've seen, Adam knows firsthand, that people listen to these words, act on these words. Ultimately, though, there will be accountability. And again, one of the things about our criminal justice system, there's a resolution. There's not many arenas, professions in this world where at the end somebody says, you win, you lose. We will have a verdict.
We heard the former acting Solicitor General under President Obama, Neil Katyal, saying he believes this will go to trial before the election and will resolve itself before the election.
I don't know about that. I mean, Donald Trump's team has estimated the trial will take 9 months. That's high. However, I've tried cases nowhere near this level of importance or scope that took 4 or 5 months. So let's cut that in half. Let's say 4 months, 5 months. I don't know where there's a 4 or 5 month gap. Let me say it differently. There is not a 4 or 5 month open gap on the calendar, given the way things stand right now. Manhattan, the hush money case, that has March and April. Right after that, the Mar-a-Lago case has May. That'll take into June and July. There's not a 4 or 5 month gap to realistically try this case on either side. However, those trial dates can move. Trial dates move all the time. Jack Smith could certainly prioritize which of his cases he wants to put first,
Karen,
but it's ultimately up to a judge.
What do you think about the timeline?
Yeah, I think the judges are going to talk. I think it's common for judges to talk and work out schedules. And
certainly seems like the New York case, Alvin Bragg, would be something that they would put on hold.
Again, it's up to the judges, but Judge Merchan is a reasonable judge, and I'm sure if Judge Chutkan asked Judge Merchan to allow their case to go first, I'm sure Judge Merchan would absolutely do that and allow that to occur. So we'll see what happens on August 28th when they set a timeline and they set a trial date, and they'll also set dates for motion practice, which means you have to have all of your defenses and the things you want me to look at, you know, the sufficiency of the grand jury, the First Amendment, the venue, all of the things that the advice of counsel, you know, all the things that they're going to argue about this indictment. The judge will give Donald Trump's lawyers a deadline to have to submit those written motions, and then they'll give the prosecution a deadline to submit those motions, and then a deadline to respond to the motions, and then they'll set a hearing date. And that will all happen probably between September, October, November. But by December, I think there's no reason this case can't go to trial around the first of the year. And somebody else was saying before, there's no procedural issues involved with classified documents the way there are in the Mar-a-Lago case with top secret clearance and all of that. So I think that Jack Smith will turn all the discovery over. They'll highlight for them, this is where, we have this much evidence, but these are the important parts. Look here, and we're ready to go.
It seems like Jack Smith's team is ready to hand over an awful lot of evidence and documents that they have to the defense.
Yeah, again, in the Mar-a-Lago case, a lot of those documents haven't been turned over because they're classified. And so until the lawyers get top secret security clearance, and that's a whole application and interview process, they can't even turn over some of the discovery in the Mar-a-Lago case. This case doesn't have those issues, so everything can be turned over right away, and the attorneys have plenty of time to prepare between now and whatever date they set. I would suspect it's early next year, maybe January, February.
How does one estimate how long a trial, once it begins, actually will last?
There's no science to it. You ask both sides. I think the judge will ask both sides how long to put in your case, prosecution, defense, how long do you think it will take to put in your case? But judges have a lot of say over this, too. I mean, I've seen judges who have determined, we're going to get this thing tried. I know everyone wants all the time in the world. We're going to get this thing tried in 2 months, in 3 months. So it's a push-pull between the defense and the prosecution. And the judge, though, ultimately does have some influence, a lot of influence over that as well. Look, this is going to be so crucial when it comes to the issue of timing. I mean, do we get a verdict before an election? And, will that change anything politically? You all are the political experts. I don't know. Will a guilty verdict change anything? Certainly, I agree that a not guilty verdict or a hung jury will change things quite a bit.
But assuming that Team Trump, just based on what we're hearing, is going to utilize every delay tactic they have, from venue change and so on, are you able to make any kind of an estimation of how long this could end up going?
All I know is this is just bizarre, man. Like, we're talking about an election year where we can't talk about election stuff. The credit of the country's been downgraded, can't talk about that. The country's on fire, weird weather, can't talk about that. UFOs, can't talk about that. There's 300 Lilliputians running against Trump in this primary. None of them are on the air today talking about anything they care about because this strategy is working. Like, Trump is the only person getting any oxygen even in a year like this.